All right, guys, we're going right back to research where we left off. The last time we discussed research, we talked about organizing our paper. We made sure that we had our title centered here. Then we had our introductory paragraph here. We, of course, worked together on this introductory paragraph, so you know that's fine. And then we came up with the different subsets, categories, whatever you want to call them, of how you're going to organize your paper. So in this example, my paper is about vaccinations, and it said right here in my thesis that vaccinations should be mandatory because of these two reasons. They eradicate diseases, and they pose little risk to patients. So that tells me that those are my categories. I have one called eradicating disease, and I have one called risks to patients. So now we're going to talk about how you should insert your notes into the framework of your paper. You have this framework where you have your title, intro, category. All right? So now we're going to insert our notes into there. So depending on the method you use to take notes, you're going to need to separate your notes into categories. So you're going to start by assigning each category a color. All right? So for my example, I'm going to make anything having to do with eradicating disease yellow, and anything having to do with risk to patients is going to be pink. All right, so now you need to grab the notes that you took. Now, there are a couple ways that you may have done it. You may have done source sheet. Each source has a sheet. Or you may have done source coding, where you use paper, but you coded your sources, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you may have used note cards. You may remember that note cards are my personal favorite, but I know that a lot of people like using paper instead. That's fine. So you grab your notes, and do that now. If you haven't, go ahead and grab your notes. We can pause till you come back. Okay, assuming you have your notes now. So here are my notes. Okay, so you can see by looking at this picture here that I use SourcePage. Because you see the number 1 up there, and that's immunizeforgood.com. That's my source. So all of these notes came from this source here. All right. Well, what I'm simply going to do is I'm going to grab a couple of highlighters, and I'm going to refer back to this color coding system that I decided I was going to use. I said anything having to do with eradicating disease was going to be yellow. Anything with risk to patients was going to be pink. So measles, 55 cases. That's a yellow because it's going to go in my eradicating diseases section. Diphtheria, 0 cases. Mumps, 6,584 cases. Whooping cough, 15,632 cases. All of those have to do with eradicating disease. At least that's what I've decided for my paper. That's why those are yellow. Serious side effects are rare. Well, that's going to go in the part of my paper called risks to patients. And that makes sense, because if we're talking about serious side effects, those are risks. So that's why I've highlighted that one yellow. Pink. Then I switched back to yellow for even the small decline in vaccinations can cause a comeback in an illness, and they aren't common, so adults don't see how serious illnesses actually are. Both of those, again, I think belong in my section about eradicating disease, so I've gone back to the yellow. And then there is no evidence that the MMR causes autism. Again, that's in my risks to patients section, so I went back to pink. And 1 in 1 million children get polio when given the live vaccine, so now we use the inactive vaccine, and that's going to go in my paper underneath risk as well. So that's pink. So you can see I'm just going to go through all my notes and color code them. Now, if you use note cards, you're in even better shape. And this is why I love note cards, because you literally just have to sort them into piles. All right? Just like the picture shows here. So instead of having to color code anything or highlight anything, I can just sort them. I can have one pile for risk to patients, and I can have one pile for eradicating disease. And that's why I love note cards. Now, it might not seem like much now when you're in middle school CATS class and you're writing the paper that you're writing now, but believe me, when you get into college and you have a more complex thesis and each of your subcategories has 3 subcategories of its own, you might be glad you did it this way. Just saying. Okay, now your color or pile is a very quick indicator of where each fact belongs. So you can just plug them in. Literally just plug them in, plug them in, plug them in. You don't have to worry about the arrangement. You can rearrange them as much as you want and make them look pretty. Okay, but the point is, all I have to do is everything that's yellow is going to go in this section here. And everything that's pink is going to go in this section. Alright, and I can put them back in whatever order I want them. Okay, now, in-text citation. We've talked about this, but I just want to go over it real quick so we can talk about what this looks like. After you enter each fact, remember to put a parentheses and tell which source your fact came from. So it looks like this. There are 6,584 cases of mumps each year. And I put a little parentheses and I put a 1. What does that 1 mean? Well, it means it came from source 1. Okay? Matter of fact, cases of mumps. Cases of mumps, I can see exactly, it's the same note. Okay, it came right from here. And now I plopped it into my paper and I put a number 1. So I know that's where it came from. You need to do this for every one of your facts. So let's see what it looks like. Risk to patients. Throughout time, but especially in the last decade, vaccinations have come under serious scrutiny, said source 2. One of the most prevalent rumors accuses the MMR vaccination of causing autism in children, said source 3. Yet there's absolutely no medical evidence to suggest that this rumor is true, said source 1. While all immunizations have the potential to cause serious side effects, said source 2, the side effects are extremely rare, occurring in less than 0.01% of patients, said source 1. And I just want to point out this last sentence here actually has 2 citations, right? Even though this is all one sentence, I combined facts from 2 different sources, okay? So I use a little bit from this source and a little bit of this source. I put them together to make a sentence. Not only can you do this, but you should do this. If you only do 1 sentence per 1 fact, your paper is going to sound pretty choppy. So you should definitely consider combining sentences so that they look more like this. All right? So just kind of color coding it again, if you will, just to kind of show you this came from 2, so did this. This came from 3, and then this came from 1, and this came from 1. All right? I think that's it. Have fun working today. I know you'll miss me dearly, but I hope you can somehow find the strength to move on with your day without me. Good luck with that. See y'all next week. Have a good weekend. Bye.